Hello and welcome to SideQuest. This is your weekly video game show here at GeekVerse. I'm your host, Dylan Muss, and I have with me the Clown Prince of Fables. I think you
Wrong
maybe
one. Yeah.
make a change on that real quick. We've got Travis Snell here tonight. How
Damn
you
it.
doing, my friend?
Good. You know what? For the Xbox cast, I'll do a nickname for the Summer Games
Okay.
Fest. It was my problem. I went into the wrong
soul
StreamYard
for a soul.
room. Yeah. So next one, I'll do that. So, but it's I thought it was a good name. Like I feel like that would be somebody you'd hear about in Lord of the Rings. Like the Clown Prince of Fables. He's like a jester or something. So yep. But I'm happy. It's not E3, but Summer Games Fest continues. It's that same weekend, so I'm excited. We got lots of good stuff to talk about. Lots of questionable stuff, but that's what you want E3 weekend, right? Can't all be good. You got to have some stinkers in there. So
It's about quantity over quality.
Yeah, of
sometimes.
course, yeah.
We'll take it. We also have another guy following in the same suit here. We got the Call of Duties, Taylor.
I messed up. I went to the wrong room too.
yeah.
To be fair, I made the
you're
rooms
loud.
out of order, so you guys are not in the wrong here. But how are you doing, Taylor?
Good. It's busy, but there's so much to talk about. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
There is a lot to talk about, of course. Yeah, as Travis mentioned, this is the pseudo E3 weekend where we had all sorts of video game showcases over the last few days, and a couple more to come. Nintendo Direct at some point. But we really have a lot. In this episode, we're going to talk to me all about Summer Game Fest. Then we're going to have another episode dropping for the Xbox Showcase, another one for Ubisoft Forward. They're all going to drop pretty much at the same time, but just separate casts, so you can kind of keep them organized in your feed there. And because we have so much to do tonight, and it's 8 p.m. right now, I'm going to skip all of the rigmarole, and we're just going to get right into it.
It's all down below. If you
It's all
ever
down
want it.
below.
Yeah.
Join Patreon, Discord,
Yeah.
all that regular stuff.
The links are there.
But let's get right into it. Travis, what did you think of Summer Game Fest? Of course, we're talking about I don't even think he calls it Opening Night Live anymore, but just Summer Game Fest, the Jeff Keighley Showcase. All these things are under that branding. But what did you think of his Friday show this year?
Because again, it's a weird thing. Because even Xbox says they're part of Summer Games Fest, but it's like they would probably still be doing this anyways without Jeff. It's not like Jeff's paying for the Xbox show, so it's still a weird thing. But yeah, I meant to go back and listen to our Game Awards, but correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you and I thought that was a weaker show too, right? I feel like
I think it's been a bit since there's been a really spicy Jeff show.
Yeah, and that's usually rare because I feel like Jeff is usually a kind of a tit for tat where if Summer Games Fest sucks, December rolls around and he kills it, or vice versa, right? And I feel like there's never been that period, and not say sucks, but just like lesser than kind of mediocre in the middle. But I think this is other than maybe when he was first starting out, and those ones I don't even judge the same way because he was just establishing the brand, didn't have the same funding, the same clout he did. I think now this is like probably from, I'll say like whenever the Game Awards, it's like 2020, 2021 is when he really took over. I think this is the first stretch of both shows being pretty lackluster, and this being more lackluster than Game Awards, because I felt like there was more talk about Game Awards. But I get it with the advertising. I'm not even complaining about that, except the back half. There's some bad ads back to back. You got to split that stuff up. And again, it's you didn't have to be 2 hours. It's and it's interesting because I feel like even in the times with the Summer Games Fest, Game Awards is different because he has the month to himself. With Summer Games Fest, I've even felt like the weaker ones still, it's better than Ubi, better than Xbox, like better than what's out there. I can't say that this time. It's I think there was a lot of issues with this one, and I don't think it's gonna I'm not saying it's dire, right? Jeff does these things. We've seen the price of these trailers. I think it's stick around. But again, it doesn't always have to be 2 hours. So I think this was one of the weaker ones, and there wasn't he did try to manage expectations, but it is that meme of, we didn't expect much, but we expected a little bit better than this. And so not a good outing for Keighley and the company. And it's I think pacing was fine until what was the game? Because we're gonna go over. But when did you bow out, Dylan? Alan Wake. After Alan Wake, the thing took a nosedive. It was very much like I think like paced still well and still good, and even stuff I was interested in. But after Alan Wake, that was when we got a lot of ads back to back. There wasn't really a big ender. I think the ending was Monster Hunter, which again, it's like that does hit for a certain audience, but not everybody.
Seen it a lot too in the last few months.
That too, yeah. So that's the thing for me. It just was. If it ended at Alan Wake and maybe the other stuff you synchronized, put all together, be better. But the last 45, and we were talking about it in the Discord with other people, just it felt like unison. And even when Keeley, because I do love looking at the polls, and I appreciate that he posts them. He posts that poll, and this was the first time ever I think I saw for his presentations like a D having the majority. I think that was like 36-40%. It's gone back and forth there, and usually I think the lowest I've seen is C, but usually it's like a, B, C. So D, I think just overall, just everybody felt like a disappointment. That's kind of where I am. I'm excited to talk about a few things in here, but I'm just very disappointed between this, Xbox. I got reloaded nowhere. I got details this weekend, so I thought for sure I was going to get reloaded somewhere, or replaced, sorry.
Okay, I was like...
yeah, sorry, replaced and nowhere. So down marks for everybody. But yeah, so meh.
Do you want to throw a number on it right off the top here, out of 5?
So because when you go over it, I always have the stream beside me too, just to give a refresher. Right now, I'll give it a 2, but it could be lower than that once we redo it. But it's definitely a fail. I think this one for me, I can't even. I think the pacing was. I could have gave it at least a 3 till Alan Wake happened. Not Alan Wake specific, after Alan Wake, but after Alan Wake, that's when I got to the fail category. So.
Gotcha. How about you, Taylor? What did you think of this showcase here?
I mean, I'm kind of with Travis. I wouldn't be as negative, but
Wow.
I feel like it felt long. And to me, it probably felt long because I feel like there's so much stuff, and I feel like where I'm at now as a gamer, I know what I like. I know what my go-tos are, and I know where my focus is on certain titles and certain franchises and IPs and whatnot. So seeing a whole bunch of different things that really wasn't really speaking to me. That being said, there's a couple of little gems in there that I'm curious about. You know, we got our Quidditch champions and a couple other things.
That's
There's a couple other things that kind of I found intriguing, but the duration, it's a long time. I mean, I'm trying to remember how long. I mean, Ubisoft was.
UB was an hour, a flat hour,
okay.
and Xbox was 2 hours, but they had the games to be
I think
2
UB
hours.
was longer than that. When
Nope, it was an hour today. I watched.
Really?
It's like an hour 04. It's like one of the shortest ones I've ever done.
I
Maybe you
swear
didn't
it was
feel like that
2
for
hours when
Dylan?
I was watching today, but I don't know. Maybe I was watching a different stream or something.
There was like a
There was
pre-show,
musical
I think?
performances.
Oh,
or
there
all
was,
sorts of
but-
random
There was, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, but no, it was like an hour 04. It was one of the shortest ones because UB is usually like the return of the
Right,
king
maybe
of
I
conferences.
probably had the one with
'cause-
the pre-show in there. So if you
Yeah.
take the pre-show out, it shrinks.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do the Just Dance like performance, which is like 20
Oh, I
minutes.
missed it. Yeah, those mascots and
It's
everything.
VR now. Yeah, the mascots.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, I feel like there's definitely been better showcases in the past than this one. So that's kind of where I stand. If I had to give a number out of 10, I don't feel like I'd probably go a solid 5. I'm not gonna fail it because there were some little things
Well,
in there, but
Well, we do out of 5, sir.
oh, is that a
for
5?
conferences?
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
come on.
I
now.
know.
We've been doing
right,
this
right.
since
It's been a
2015.
long time.
I don't
Did
know
we
why
do it
we do
last
it this
year?
way, but we do. So.
We just whenever I think just because we were talking about like 10 was too large for like sometimes like a 45-minute conference, so like 5 was like a
But
good
a 2-hour conference. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, what was your number, Taylor?
well, if it's out of 5, then can I do
Yeah.
2.5 or no point?
You can do 0.5.
You can do whatever you want.
I'll
You
do
can
a
keep it on 10
2.5.
if you want.
10 out of 5. No.
That would be Healy would be just popping out of his seat there, popping off. Yeah, I guess I'm in a weird boat for this one where when it was live streaming, I was on the road to a camping trip and I wasn't driving, so I was watching on my phone, but I didn't have sound. And I had I'm watching on my phone. I have Discord open and like a mini screen, and then when like a hype game is popping up, I'm like going full screen. So it was not the ideal viewing experience, and I didn't watch the whole thing, of course. And then it was when I was sitting down today, taking notes, recapping everything. And that's when I was going through, but I was still I was skipping the interstitial stuff. So I think the pacing for me, I didn't even really notice it being an issue. And honestly, that's the way to do these Jeff Keighley showcases, man. Watching these things live can be brutal, whether it's Game Awards or Summer Game Fest. Just so many ads in there. I think very rarely when he has people up on stage, is it that entertaining or giving me much information. I feel like he's just doing it. I don't know. Some of them feel very genuine. Other ones feel very much just like trying to get like social media clicks, and so I very much prefer with his shows to not really watch them live, and so I think I'm probably a little bit higher. I'm probably at like a 3 out of 5 here because there were a few cool games, some that I hadn't heard of before that are definitely on my wish list now. Some other ones that were cool announcements, but the showing for them wasn't stellar. Like there wasn't like gameplay or something. And then there was a couple sequences that really surprised me, like the Blumhouse games section. I really enjoyed that, so we'll break down all of that. And I think there's some cool surprises in there too. But yeah, I think the pacing is definitely an issue. But there was some great games mixed in there, and I already bought one of the things that was shown here, so that's always a good sign. Taylor Field, what's up?
Now you had no audio. Did you have captions going on this thing, or just totally
I
blinding
don't. I
it?
probably not, because like who could read captions on like their phone YouTube when they're
He
flipping
did,
it,
but when
like,
Jeff came on,
horizontal
he
and
turned them off.
sideways. So I did not. I had no sound for that initial reveal. So yeah, definitely the hype level is gonna be a bit lower. But like I said today, when I watched it again, I was full on engaged in my seat, as Jeff Keighley would hope to see me there. So. Let's go through this in order, and as usual, like I'm not going to bring up every single game because I don't want to bring one up and all of us be like, yep, cool, and then move on. There's no point in me doing that. So if you want a pure recap, go to IGN. They have it as a list, I'm sure. But we're just going to talk about the things that I think will maybe generate some discussion, of course. So started out with a game that was leaked recently, and me and Travis actually talked about a couple weeks ago during the State of Play episode that we did. But Lego Horizon Adventures is officially announced. It's real. It's coming out this holiday.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is Horizon. It's Aloy and crew turned into a Lego-ified game. And yeah, it's. I mean, I want to jump to this right away. This game is not a PlayStation exclusive. It is on Switch. It is on PC, which is maybe not a shocker. But I wanted to pose this question to you guys. Like, obviously, PlayStation, Xbox has been throwing their stuff everywhere. Any console that will have them, they got to get those sales. PlayStation kind of has to do that too. Development cycles are so long these days that they got to make as much money as possible when they actually sell these games. And so PlayStation, their strategy so far has been like, okay, a year or two later, we're going to put our games on PC. We haven't seen one come to Switch yet. Probably a big reason for that is because the Switch can't handle most of the games that they release.
No Death Stranding there.
But do you guys think with the Switch 2 coming out probably early next year or next year for sure, are we going to start seeing just a barrage of PlayStation games, or is this a weird one-off? Because it's developed by Guerrilla. It's not like it's developed by some other random non-PlayStation studio.
I think I'm in the middle. That I don't think it's a one-up, but I don't think a barrage either. I think it'll be what Xbox said they were going to do and just like pick a few games here and there. I think PlayStation will do that. Even with their PC games and ports, it takes a while. Sometimes like 2 years for those to come over. Some of them still haven't. I think Ghost of Tsushima
quicker though. It
has been.
I mean, there is exceptions. Like Ghost took years and years. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Ragnarok
Yeah.
was really fast actually.
So I think it depends. And like you said, with Power, it's also like what can they port over there? Like maybe like even Astrobot is something that eventually they could do that.
Slam dunk.
Yeah,
for sure.
so I think at least to start, they're gonna wait and see a little bit, and I think it'll be kind of those type of games. But yeah, I think it'll be, I'll say like next year you'd get no more than 6. That's what I'd say. No more than 6. That's what I'd put it as.
I feel like
to
man,
start.
if they bring those big PS4 games to the Switch 2, that's powerful enough to handle it. That's
Right,
gonna make
yeah.
them so much freaking money, and those are like older games that I don't know. I mean, if they put like a God of War or a Last of Us, I wonder what the PlayStation audience would think of that kind of thing in terms of the brand and the exclusivity. But they would make so much freaking.
That's not the
money doing
play. You know what the mega play is with Switch 2? If they can bring over those type of games, the play is Spider-Man 100%. With the kids, I'm not sure if they can do that, but if they can bring over Spider-Man and you got a younger audience and you can throw in a cheaper Spider-Man game, some sort of, whatever, not a bundle, not that they'd make a Spider-Man Switch, but something where it's like you can buy this and get that. Because like again, sure they'll bring them over, but Last of Us, God of War, that's not exactly the huge demographic for the Switch, right? It's kind of a fits everyone, where Spider-Man, that is like a fits everyone, right? I know there's some weird effing games on the Switch, but I just think
at this point there's just so many people that have a Switch that I feel like you'd at least
at
least see another like 10 million copies being sold of Last of Us Part 2 or something like that.
Yeah, so that
many
to me would be
people
the
have
money
that.
play. You get Spidey over there, and that's big.
Yeah. Taylor, as someone who doesn't have a PlayStation and has not had the opportunity to play a Horizon game, is this an opportunity for you to jump in? Are you interested? I know you like the Lego games, so what do you think of this?
I'm interested in the sense that this gameplay that this game has seems very different from previous Lego games. The way the boss battles are kind of set up and the way you're constructing things, it feels very different. To me, the Skywalker Saga was very much, very similar to previous Lego games. I feel like every single Lego game just has this similar kind of vibe to it and this kind of gameplay mechanic, but this just feels really different and fresh. The way you're going around and I mean, doing everything in this Lego game, it's so unique. And so I would love to see this kind of mechanic adapted to different themes, different franchises, IPs, because that alone has definitely intrigued me enough to get into this. Even Last of Us Lego would be sick, but I have no idea aside from just your humans fighting these robot animals, you're hunting them in Horizon. I don't know anything beyond that, so
Yeah,
I don't know. Am I missing out getting into this without that concept?
Well, you've missed out on the main game, I think, because this is right. The robot dinosaurs, I feel like, is up your alley. It's Jurassic Park and Bionicles, you know.
Oh,
and it's like a very Ubisofty open world type of game in the structure. It's interesting you call it out there. Like I feel like so many of the recent Lego games have been open world or like very open, at least compared to the earlier very level based sort of things with like Skywalker Saga. Lord of the Rings was like getting to some of that point. Some of the like the Incredibles game has like a big town you can like drive around in and all that stuff. And they've gone more and more towards that. And so it's funny looking at this. This does not look like a very open worldy type of game, even though the IP that it's based on is like an open world, a series that only has like open world games in it. So
it's like back to basic Lego, like what we grew up with.
And it seems, as you mentioned, like more combat focused than puzzle focused for Lego games. I mean, it still has that element to it. But yeah, I also think like the way you're building out this town or these outposts, like that's the most compelling thing to me because you don't do any of that in the Horizon games, but they have such cool art style and the towns are so cool in those games that I think the idea of like building them out is pretty interesting. But in terms of the actual gameplay, other than that, it didn't really look that compelling to me. It's like, I'd rather just go play actual Horizon than Lego Horizon. Yeah. So Travis, as my fellow Horizon fan, we're still.
I'm still a fan. I'm still a fan because I would never say that again. I'd never say that second game is a bad game. I would say it's like a disappointment. I know S-Bubs in the chat. He's always slandering Horizon for some reason. But I thought this looked fine, but it looked like good in a sense of it looks like a kid's game, and that's I think what they're going for in a sense, right? Like that's what you do with Lego. So I feel like they're trying a new audience. And I guess we didn't even talk about that. Like if this does well, isn't like one of the Horizon games a no duh for Switch as well? Like if this
probably the first one at least because it could run on presumably that hardware. I mean, I guess even the second game was a PS4 game, so if they can get one of them on there, they can probably get both of them.
And I feel like you are right where so many people have a Switch, but again, if they want to tiptoe and start with like family safer games, Horizon I don't think is so violent. Like there's some more mature stuff, but it's not sex, swearing, brutal kills. It's all like the comic book violence where it's aliens and monsters and this is robot dinosaurs, right?
Off enemies, which is like that's right up Lego alley. Like,
exactly, right? So I think the game overall, it looked. I think I appreciate that's not just like a straight up remake of Horizon, but doing like the way the Legos when we talk about like Lego Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, where it's the movies but Lego. I think those work because there's not really game adaptations, and if they are, it's like with the PS2. I think with this that there might be some elements, but I like that it's almost like this kind of fun kids what if tale with this like whatever, like this is not gonna be anything that's canon. It's not replaying the story, and I think that's better for them. Like I don't want to have to replay the whole part one, so I don't think I'll ever play this on just myself. I think down the line once the kids get a little, and I'll have to see how this Lego works because that was my problem with the Lego with the young ones with Star Wars was just they're still getting used to controlling the camera, and this didn't look like that. That looked like a bit more of a top down view, so that's why I'm not gonna say never, but I'm just saying if it is me playing it is with the children. We do have more Switch remotes too, so that helps. So it might be one down the line again too, and it looked fun enough, but didn't look like anything I had to push my backlog aside for. Be like, oh, I gotta get into Horizon. Same thing like you do, and I would just go back to Horizon or just wait for that rumored multiplayer game or even 3 because like maybe that'll be some improvements. But still, I think it looked cool enough, you know.
Yeah, no, good point. I think for me, I'm definitely the multiplayer one is the one I'm most interested in at this point of all the current Horizon games that exist out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really interesting time for PlayStation. We talked about this a lot with the state of play of like, okay, Astrobot, like finally they're doing like a very kid-friendly game like Ratchet and Clank was that, but even then it feels like that's kind of for all audiences, whereas Astrobot feels much more, it's like, here's Mario for the PlayStation. And so it's interesting, 2 in 1 year now, and like in the same season even, they're going to be doing 2 of these kind of the push for kid-friendly games. So I wonder I mean, PS5s are still flying off the shelves, but I wonder if this will change things too in terms of, okay, if you have a kid, maybe the Switch isn't your only option. It's gonna take more than 2 games. I know there's other non-first party games, but
Yeah.
it's
Or
an
just
interesting
even
time.
or even just selling like software, because maybe the dad has a PlayStation, right? And the kid sees an Astrobot, sees a Horizon, goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'd like that." And like, "Oh, well, I don't have," because not everybody can buy every console, right? So if it is just a parent has that and people play on the PlayStation, it is like, well, look, you have a kid now, or you have a game for your kids now. So I think it is smart to do that a little bit more. But again, we'll have to see with this and with Astrobot. I feel like these are too good. We talked about this. What was it last week? Yeah, right.
2
Last week
weeks
with Astro.
ago?
It was Showcase.
It might have been last week, actually. Yeah,
It was last week. Yeah, just like what are these platformers types that aren't big Mario, and even Horizon? I don't think is a massive IP to sell a Lego game, but now we get to see how do these two things do in this generation. And PlayStation just kind of chilling until 2025. It sounds like is when all their big
Yeah.
games are coming out. So
Yeah. Yeah, and this game it's developed by Guerrilla, of course, who make the mainline games, but it's co-developed by Studio Gobo, who seem like they've done a bunch of support stuff on, like they worked on Hogwarts Legacy, For
Okay.
Honor, Redfall, which I didn't even realize. So, a mixed bag in terms of their games, but it's hard to say what their influence really is, and it was hard to get much information on them. So I don't know where the balance lies in the co-development here. If this is really like Guerrilla's mostly making this and getting a bit of support, or if this is like mostly Studio Gobo, but then like Guerrilla's, giving them some pointers on how they want the direction to go. And the other thing with this is, the Lego games have very specific humor where they're like taking these stories and then like kind of, I don't know, just doing like very simplistic, jokey versions of them.
parody
Often,
at
like,
times.
Yeah, parody. That's what I was looking for. Often taking away, I don't know, just really turning like the scenes, like iconic moments, into like little jokes and stuff. I did think though the inclusion of like this hot dog guy and like Aloy building like a hot dog stand, I didn't really get it. Like maybe I'm just
No.
old enough now that like the Lego humor doesn't do it for anymore. I'm curious if kids find that interesting, but like I found that a weird angle to go for because it doesn't really make any sense for Horizon as a brand.
Isn't
So,
Hot
I don't
Dog
know.
Guy like a Fortnite thing too? Like,
Is
I
he?
don't
Yeah.
know, man. I don't
Maybe the
is he-
kids do get it.
Is he a character in Fortnite? Ask
I'm
Fortnite or ask
not sure.
Espubs.
S-Bubs, let us know.
Espubs,
It's
yeah.
hot dog guy in
us know.
Fortnite.
But yeah, this is so interesting to me, and I'm very curious to see what the future of PlayStation putting their games elsewhere means. And I don't know, like
Not
like-
Xbox though.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, it's very low priority for them to put their games on Xbox just because of the install base there. But it's like, why wouldn't you put this on there? Like, other than you wouldn't sell near as many copies as a Switch, of course. But it is a weird thing. But then at the same time, what we're going to talk about in the Xbox showcase, there's games that are coming to PS5, but in their showcase they only show the logos for Xbox, which makes sense. So I'm curious if down the line if this game will come to Xbox, especially since Xbox has been giving them a favor in a sense of putting some of their games over there and more to come. So I don't know. I just can't wait to see what the next like 2 years for PlayStation look like in terms of putting their games elsewhere. I've been putting off buying a PS5. Will I have to do that entirely because I'm going to be getting these games more consistently other places? Remains to be seen.
Update. There is a hot dog guy in Fortnite, but
Okay.
this is just a classic Lego hot dog guy. So two different
Should have
people.
known.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of Lego games. I don't remember ever seeing a hot dog guy. But
I feel like I remember seeing him in toys, not in the games. But I feel like I
don't
saw a
remember
hot dog
in
guy.
toys.
probably in the movie, which I've seen once.
I'm
but-
sure he's in the background. Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably.
it's gotta be. Okay. So once again, that's coming out this holiday, no actual date. Next up was this game that it looked fun, but I was joking in our chat that it was like, well, one, I was like mixed up and thought it was a PlayStation showcase because we started with that. But then
Yeah.
we got No Room in Hell 2, which is coming out this Halloween, which is like a zombie shooter. It looked a lot like Redfall to me, which was funny. But this is an 8-player co-op game, and they talk about there's like permadeath in it, which I found like a very interesting thing for a co-op game.
Sucks.
Yeah, if you're playing with your friends and you die, like you're out of the lobby at that. But can you make a new character? You're
Yeah,
kicked out.
I don't
for
like
good?
that.
It seems like a really weird idea, but I don't know. Maybe it's like really short, intense roguelike type runs, and that's where the permadeath angle comes into it. But this is a weird pick because like the first one I didn't even know was a game, and then apparently it came out in like 2011. So this has been a long time. I don't
Really?
know if it's just one of those games that has kind of been a living game and sustained in the studio, or if they've gone and made other things, but. I don't know. I haven't heard of this, but Taylor, I know you're a big zombie guy. Is this a game that you were familiar with, the original one?
I
is?
am familiar with the first one.
Okay.
It was. I remember back in the day in high school. You don't have a lot of money, and you're looking for games. So, this was a free game on Steam at the time. No More Room in
interesting.
Hell 1, and it was extremely buggy, laggy, whatnot. But I thought, you know what, it's fun. You get into a game, and yeah, there's tons of people. When you die, you're done, unless someone could come and revive you. But you just sit there and watch what would happen. If I remember correctly, I
Okay.
think your body would turn into a zombie sometimes.
That's
It's
cool.
been
Permadeath.
a long time.
Could you then play
Permadeath.
as that zombie and try and
No,
take out
no.
your friends? Oh.
See,
No,
that'd be
but-
great permadeath if you're dead, but you still get to play along and you got to take out your whole team. You know.
that'd be
But-
fun.
The maps were huge, and this was just like a full mod experience. I felt like they had Walking Dead maps, which is really, really cool.
Oh, cool.
Really? That
Yeah,
sounds
but again,
pretty big for a
it's,
game. I
it's
didn't
modded.
know.
It's modded, so the people just like made the maps,
Oh.
put it into the game, and
Okay.
all that. And I think there were some like like Call of Duty Nazi zombie equivalent style maps, but like done different. I just been so
Oh, yeah.
long. But I remember the Walking Dead prison. That was a fun one to play on.
Nice.
And some other things. So
Very cool.
I mean, it's aged well enough to get a sequel, and that was really surprising to see. So yeah.
So that first one was free to play. Do you think this will be free to play game as well? Would
I
think so,
doubt
right?
it. I feel like they'll probably charge a buck or two for this.
A buck or two. Okay, that's not.
That's not bad. A buck or two.
Buck or
Yeah,
two.
I'll play for that. You know.
Cool. Next up was Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, coming out September 3rd. If anyone goes back and listens to our Harry Potter retrospective, you'll know that I am a avid Quidditch hater. I think it's a shitty game with bad rules. I'm not interested in this. I don't like the look of it. I'll go play Hogwarts Legacy in the sequel. Not for me. What do you guys think of this?
I will definitely give it a. Unless the reviews are completely awful, I'll give it a go. I think
If
there
it's
could
free
be
to play,
some.
I'll jump in and check it out. That's my
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah, of course, price wise. But I agree with Dylan that the rules suck of Quidditch, but I still actually like the idea of a on brooms football type of game. I like that like concept. Also have to see like what the multiplayer is like, because I don't like that's a game where I think I want multiple people to play with, not like with Strikers where it's like teams of 4, but then you can only do 2 online. It looked like a game that was from the GameCube era, and they're like, we've remastered it. Like that's what it looked like.
It actually, very accurate.
So that was a big red flag, and they didn't show gameplay, right? If I recall, it was just the
Just a cinematic.
Yeah,
but you
but
got a
people have played
top-down
it, right?
view, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
With
So
the game
I-
coming out in September, that's actually very shocking that there's no.
Yeah,
gameplay.
so I don't know. I'll keep my eye on it. I think this could also be like a really fun extra life game for us. Like that's what I'm thinking of. Get Bitter Dylan, have the sticks for a little bit, play some Quidditch. But yeah, this one's the jury's really out. I could see this dropping on Metacritic like a nice 30-40%. Like I would not be selecting this in the video game draft. I'll say that from the showing. So
Yeah, fair point. How about you, Taylor?
I don't want to pay $90 after taxes for this. I'll tell you that right
there's
now.
no way it's $90. There's no way.
I hope not. I mean, I walked
Probably
into GameStop
microtransactions
to
if you want to like
pre-order.
play as Oliver Wood and stuff like that, right?
Takes flight.
I'm not
September.
paying for that. Oh my god.
Available. Oh, right. That's the other thing.
Who
Is
would
it
you
available?
pay for? If the
I'd
game's
pay for
$30,
Voldemort if I could be Voldemort,
Voldemort,
playing
yeah.
Quidditch. That'd be
Okay.
kind of fun.
That's how they get you. Yeah.
Available day one with PlayStation Plus though. So for me, I'm actually already in. I get it for free. So
Oh,
that's
shit.
what I was gonna say. It can't be that much, Taylor. If I'm getting on PlayStation Plus for like
Probably
20
$39.99 when it
Yes.
starts, and then in
Right.
about a month and a half, it'll be 50% off.
yeah,
That's
with
true.
Voldemort
That's
included.
interesting because Hogwarts Legacy had that PlayStation exclusive quest, like that
Yeah.
haunted mansion thing. So it's weird. There's
that's
there's some
available
exclusivity
everyone
going on
now.
with HP and Sony. There's a little deal behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay, we shall move on to
Yeah. There's not much there.
this game called Cuff Bust, which sounded like Jeff Keighley said something very different when I first heard it. But this is a weird looking game. You're like playing as little Furbies, and you're like breaking out of prison. It's a co-op, one of those janky kind of co-op games. I don't know. It's kind of like an Among Us or an Outlast Trials, I guess, in that way. So it looks fun for what it is in terms of like the kind of freedom you have as the players, and it just looks like a fun game to play with your friends. But I don't know. This is I didn't really like the tone of this. It was a bit too, like at one point, I don't know, the screens like count them. There's like some number and it's like 42069. I'm like, okay. I don't need that kind of energy in my life these days. So,
Yeah.
any Cuff Bust thoughts from either of you?
This is a bust for me.
It's a
I
bust.
appreciate it. It's from one guy, and I like that Keeley. Like, there's multiple
He really
games
likes
like
this
that.
guy.
Yeah, there's multiple games though like that on the show that are from very small developers like that. So I like some of the look of it, but nothing nothing was really drawing me to this. So unfortunately, didn't do much.
Yeah. Star Wars Outlaws was next up. We're gonna kick that conversation to Ubisoft forward. So go check out that cast if you want to hear us talk about that. And then next up was probably the, in theory, most hype thing for me in the showcase, which was Civilization VII, which is coming out next year apparently. It was a surprise, but also not, because this game has been, like, I don't even know if it was leaks or official, but the game has been like, okay, we're working on Civilization 7, so it wasn't like a huge surprise. And since there was no gameplay footage, it was just a cinematic. I wasn't getting too hyped on it, because that's gonna be a big thing for me, is just what the art style is like for the game, the kind of way the series has changed in terms of its art style. I feel like kind of peaked in like 5 for me, and I didn't really like the different style, even gameplay, art style, all that stuff for Civilization 6 and the direction it went. Still had some decent times with it, but it was nowhere near as good as 5 for me. And so I'm really curious to see what that looks like. Apparently in August is when there's going to be a full gameplay showcase, so I don't have to wait that long to find out. But I think it was a good get for Keighley here. I mean, I say that, but like, sounds like people just, pay a lot of money to have their thing here, so it's not even necessarily him getting it. But it was cool to see. I'm glad it's announced, and it's cool. It's coming out next year. I don't know what I expected. It's been a long time since 6, but this is definitely gonna be a day one for me. Even if, I mean, presumably, unless the gameplay trailer is so awful that I am completely turned off, I'll at least want to buy it and check it out, because I love the series so much. So I don't think you guys are big Civ guys, but any interest on that one?
No, I will probably be at some point. They're not on Game Pass right now, because I think it was a cast a couple months ago we talked about. I said I want to try and get into them, but there was just none really on Games Pass. So I think unless this somehow miraculously is like, oh yeah, it's somewhere day one here, probably not playing this, but it's on the radar as far as I'm going to try one of these in the next couple of years, and maybe Civ 7 will be it. So it seemed like the reception to it was good, so that's what you want.
I got a very limited experience with Civ. I like RTS more than turn-based, but I have played them.
Right.
Maybe this is the one that'll get me back in there. We'll see.
I would be surprised. Let's go play some Civ 5, Taylor. It's probably $20 these days on Steam. That game's so good.
Is it multiplayer?
Yeah, you can play multiplayer.
Nice. I like
Would
that.
be on teams, or are you just gonna set me up like 1v1 and just destroy
I mean,
me?
we could make an alliance, but then if you take my trade route or take my resource, like maybe I'll get
like-
angry and
I
declare
like
war.
trade routes.
That's how it
I
goes.
didn't know it had multiplayer. That's fun.
Yeah.
That makes me excited.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, next up was this game called Once Human, which I haven't heard of, but I probably have seen it at some point because it's coming out very soon, July 9th. I don't know, it looked really interesting to me. It's like there's bow and arrows, but then there's also guns. I think this thing that stood out to me just visually was like these giant, almost like terraformer creatures. Like this giant house on the back of a creature, and I'm sure you can go get on top of them and go collect whatever's in there. So I don't know, looked pretty interesting to me. It's coming out pretty soon. I'm surprised I haven't heard about it more, but looks cool.
It's not a good sign. This one didn't do too much for me. There was a lot of times in the game, or in the preview at least, the saturation felt like it was turned up to 200. So it wasn't the prettiest looking thing. So this one didn't. It's coming out July 9th, and it's going to just pass me right on by unless I hear like really good word of mouth about it. But didn't stay with me. I had to do this kind of refresher on here. But it was odd looking at times. So
I feel like, last year the Summer Game Fest theme was like space horror games, and like everything was that. I feel like the theme this year was fantasy games that looked a lot like this. There was a lot of games where you can have bows and guns, and it's like some huge fantasy world, and it's like probably open world, a little bit of Soulsy like combat. I feel like that was kind of the theme of the game this year. The Xbox showcase, just a lot of the stuff kind of had that same feel to it. So they do kind of blend in after a while. Batman Arkham Shadow is a VR game.
yeah, not good. Not good. And apparently the word, I haven't got this confirmed. I haven't had time to look into it, but people have said it's not so much like the last Arkham VR game where it's a very much like you're in the cave, you do this. It sounds like it plays a lot like a genuine Arkham game that is a lot in VR.
Oh, okay.
And someone said, I think it was Greg Millett said he had interviewed the creator. He said that it was not the exact same length, but they were trying to get the length of Arkham Asylum, which is like you've played it. It's like not a short
8 to 10
game, but
hours, right?
yeah, it's like a sizable Batman game if you want to do other stuff. So yeah, my hope for this, I guess it is my hope because I'm never gonna play it. My hope for this is it doesn't do well, and we have some sort of way where they do find a way to get it to non VR users, and we can just play it. Because I think Rocksteady would have really used this after Squad, as we learned, lost them about 200 million, and Rocksteady's just hanging on for life right now. Like the next game has to hit, or that studio's probably done. So I think they should have rerouted, like, maybe we shouldn't just do this for VR. We should find other ways, because I think it's fun. It's kind of like similar to Origins, where they got the same guy doing the Batman voice from there. It's tackling a villain that wasn't in the video games before. So, and I think the trailer was really cool, but as people pointed out in the crowd, when he mentioned MetaQuest or something like that, you could just hear groans in the crowd. And that's where VR and those headsets are, right? Like that. And that's not a good, like, you can't build that momentum back now. When you're in that groaning territory, it's it. You're done. It's over. Mm-hmm. It's just like there's certain experiences people might want that way, but when it's just like, especially and Clay, he shouted out on our Discord, but especially at the top when he's like, we got Star Wars, we got Batman. And it's just like Star Wars was a small little slice. You got a better showcase later on. Batman's this game that no one wants. So it's just like, it is like we got those things, but I feel like that's another thing that disappoints people more is people that aren't in the know as us tune in, they hear those and they go, great. And then it's like, oh, just a Batman VR game that, I don't know, how many people are going to play? How many people, we got the stats last month on PSVR 2, like, these things it's not working. It's not where it's supposed to be. So yeah, it looks cool, but I will never play it. And if it never comes to consoles, I will watch the YouTube movie version when it comes out. So.
Okay, moving along. This is probably just a quick shout out, but I thought it was cool that Street Fighter 6's next DLC is like a crossover with Fatal Fury, which is a fighting game series I probably wouldn't know anything about until one of the characters was added into Smash, of course, Terry, in one of the DLC packs there. And then there's also a new Fatal Fury game coming out, which I guess is the first one in a long time. So pretty cool for that fighting game series, kind of having a bit of a renaissance. That's interesting. Then we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Now, I mean, I was hoping Kirkland would be here tonight because always good to hear from him on any game, but he is kind of the Dragon Ball guy here. At GeekVerse. So I was hoping he could break it down because there's like Budokai and there's like Budokai Tenkaichi. And it's like he's explained it to me before, but my brain cannot conceive of what all these things mean. So I don't know. What did you guys think of this? Any thoughts on this game here?
Not for me, no.
Taylor, you
take a rain check.
Are you a Dragon Ball guy at all?
No.
You know, I'm like the Kirkland tier, but you like into it somewhat, maybe.
I've never watched it. Okay. I've never played it.
It feels like it should have been in the Taylor category growing up.
It feels like it should be in my category too, and I've played a couple of those old games, but yeah, it never was like my franchise for whatever reason. But
yeah.
Well, you can blame Kirkland for the lack of discussion on that one. Yeah. If you want to go after him on Twitter, go for it.
His fault. Yeah.
Give you permission. Okay, and then there was this section from Blumhouse Games. So Blumhouse, obviously, a studio that's done a whole bunch of horror movies. And then getting into the game space as like a publisher, I suppose you'd call it, kind of in that Annapurna sort of tier, perhaps. They showed off a variety of games here. Crystal, Theater of Idols, Grave Seasons, Sleep Awake, Fear the Spotlight, The Simulation, another one called Project C. I really enjoyed this because I didn't know anything about what Blumhouse was doing here, and I think this is really cool, and I was looking into some of these games. One of them like already came out, but then it was like, it wasn't early access, but it seems like it was like a beta thing, so it's like off Steam now, and they're gonna like finish it up with them as publisher and then release it again. But I thought it was like a really good mix of stuff here, where like kind of classic first-person horror, like Bioshocky sort of stuff. You had like a pixel art horror one that looked really nice. There's like a PS1 type style one with like the really kind of polygon stuff, which a lot of horror games have been going for that aesthetic recently, and I really enjoy it. And then maybe most interestingly was Project C, which is a game by Sam Barlow and one of the Cronenbergs. I don't know.
Brandon Cronenberg. It's Cronenberg's son, yeah.
There you go. And yeah, so Sam Barlow, that's the guy who did Immortality, Telling Lies, Her Story. So he's more for like doing FMV type things, really narrative focused. And like Immortality had its spooky elements to it. So really curious to see what that project is. But I really like the slate. I thought like 4 out of the 6 of these games are ones that I actively want to pick up, and maybe I could be sold on the other ones too. Really been into horror stuff lately. One of them, The Simulation, it's like you're being sent in as like a game developer to figure something out. So you're like moving assets around and like changing the environment. You're like a level designer, but then creepy stuff is happening, which is like a really cool concept for a video game. So yeah, I thought this was a really, really cool sequence, and like all these games went on my wish list, and I'm curious to see more about them. So this was definitely the surprise of the show for me, I think, and hopefully it does well, and Blumhouse Games keeps supporting a bunch of other indie devs to make some cool ass horror games. I'm all into it.
Yeah, it's because I was rewatching them. I'm very confused on which one, because I'm not sure if the title comes before or after the game. There's the one that it's like first person, where it looks like there's some crazy stuff kind of going on. Looks very trippy. Person's like
I think
lots
is
of
that
ways.
Sleep Awake?
I think so, but like the weird. I just wasn't sure if that was before or after. So that was about. So for me, I was looking very forward to this section because they were announced to be there, and I was curious what are they? Because I think the big thing was like, oh, they're probably just going to adapt one of their movies into a game, right? And not saying that's why I'm disappointed, because I like this route. I think for me, I'm going to have to see more or play one of these games, because I liked the idea of all this, but I also just, other than Sleep Awake, none of them actually interested me. I like the concept of them doing different styles, different routes, but just there's nothing other than Sleep Awake that was grabbing me. Nothing I thought, oh, I need to see. Even Project C, that stuff, because it was just kind of like a spotlight, and that'd be the one I'd probably be the most curious about, because Brandon's much like his dad, and he's into some very messed up, kind of very grotesque imagery, lots of body horror. So, and he did, Infinity Pool. So that gives you an idea of what Project C could.
Okay, I really like that movie, so that gets me more hyped. It's hard to keep track of these Cronenbergs in my head.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea of what it would be like. So I'm curious, but this is one that I think I will play based off people's thoughts on them, because I also come from a place where Blumhouse, like the past 3 years to me, has just been putting out movie wise like not quality at all. And a lot of people brought this up too, like these could be a lot of cheap games made to make some money and there's not much put behind them. I'm not saying that with the devs, but with Blumhouse, they are right now in this mode of like make a quick buck, and
it's kind of seems like from my perspective, like they sought out games that were already in development and are helping fund them. So in that way, it's like if they were getting into game development and started a studio and started making games, then I think I'd be pretty worried. But it's like, I'd have to look into the history of these studios. But if they already had an established vision and the game's looking good, they have prototypes, and then they just could come in with some money and help them get there, get them to the finish line, and get them their exposure. Like, these teams cannot afford a slot at Summer Games Fest usually. But because Blumhouse can come in, pay for the slot, and get all these games mentioned at one, like, I think that's like such a great thing for them. So hopefully that isn't the case, but obviously I don't really know the history of these studios, so I'm more just being hopeful there, I suppose.
And like you said, they right away get put on a different pedestal. These games could come out and be the same quality, whether it's good or great, and maybe not get looked at all, right? But with Blumhouse, it does help. It's like, so I am going to keep my eye on it. Just because for me, the showing didn't like reel me in. I'm always down for like a fun horror experience. And there were times that I thought Blumhouse was great. So I like what they're doing here. So it's for me, it's like the jury's out. It's all going to be based on my experiences there. So, but it's a cool concept. I like it. So.
What would your top Blumhouse IP pick be for a conversion to a game?
Go to Taylor, and then I'm going to take up the list, because there's stuff though, because you got, not that it would be, but there's stuff like Michael Myers and Halloween that they just had the rights for a little bit. They don't own them, so I got to see what they got there completely. So,
Taylor, what are your thoughts on this? You're you dabble in horror games somewhat regularly, actually. That is like silently one of your go-to genres. Like you're usually picking up a game or two every year in that space, I'd say.
You're not wrong. And this this caught my attention. I have to say though, Travis, I'd probably say Sleep Awake was the one that really pulled me in the most. But there were a couple others, like you mentioned Simulation there, Dylan, and there was one other one. I can't remember which one.
What was the
sound like Willem Dafoe and Poor Things over there, Taylor.
But primarily Sleep Awake was definitely the one that was kind of like pulling me
I feel
in.
like you
I was
like
just
Crystal
curious.
Theater of Idols. That was one with like the mannequins or like the dolls.
Yeah, I'm down for some mannequins, some dolls, stuff like that freaked me out. So that definitely was interesting. It gave, I don't know why, but it gave me Amnesia vibes, which it's very different from Amnesia from when I was looking at it, but just how it felt. But no, I'm super interested by this, and if it does well, then I'm hoping that they can kind of pursue things like you were saying, Travis. Those IPs that are more familiar would be pretty cool. I would think it'd be pretty cool to see stuff like that.
Like Whiplash, the Whiplash game would be great. Remember
Whiplash.
the
Is that
drummer
one?
movie with J.K.
Oh.
Simmons, and yeah, I didn't know they did that, but so I have a few that would be
like Rock Band.
yeah. I have a few. The meme pick, just because I watched the movie today, and this one's just for Dylan, is Happy Death Day, because you could do some fun stuff with the
Oh.
time travel
It'd
mechanics
be like
and
a
everything like
roguelike.
that.
Yeah.
Yes. So you got that. One that I think is like Prime, The Purge, like that's a prime
Yeah.
action game right there, right? Of like the day, you know, you have a
Yeah.
24-hour cycle or something like that.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the easy one is Insidious, just because like that's their biggest one. But the one I actually think, and I'd want it to be like a smaller game, not huge. I think Sinister would be great because like finding the videotapes, doing different stories. I think you could make like a smaller budget double A type of game with that. So Sinister would be my ultimate pick, and like Bagul, like I need some more Bagul. So yeah.
Should do like The Gift, that Joel Edgerton movie.
Yeah, Gordo. Yeah, that is one of their movies. I saw it.
I could
You
not.
need to
picture
stop
that as a
Gordo.
video game. Oh my god.
Dylan, have you seen Sinister before?
No, I don't think so.
I'm very excited because we're doing that Golden Geeks 2012 newscast. We're going to talk about more this week. Sinister came out in 2012, so I think
Okay.
that might
Let
be
me
my
put it on
pick
list
because
here.
yeah, it's a really good one. It's Scott Derrickson, who directed the first Doctor Strange. It's Ethan Hawke and Bagul. I think to back me up, very scary villain. Don't check out the second one because it goes away, but the first one they do a great job of aura, very almost like Slender Man in a type of way of like, do you see him? Do you not? But yeah, those are my picks.
They got that movie Hush too. I totally forgot about that. If they could apply that kind of concept into video games somehow, that'd be
Like
really
Hush with
neat.
the
That's
deaf
where the woman
final
was
girl?
deaf. Yeah, and the murderer
Really?
was in the house.
I didn't know that was them. Okay, that'd be
That would be
cool.
neat to incorporate that and have some. I don't want to say Achilles heel, but limit some kind of feature.
It'd be a
you
different
have in the
mechanic.
game. It would be very different.
Yeah, because you'd have like no sound, and you'd have to use a lot of visual. I feel like you'd have to make that game first person, right? Because imagine
Yeah.
playing a game with no sound and there's an intruder in your house. That could be like, again, I think that would be like something smaller. You can't do like, here's the $80 game, but a $30-$40 escape with no sound. Like there
Yeah.
could be
I mean,
something there. So
Yeah, a 2-hour long game.
Yeah.
That's like highly
VR.
immersive and just focused on one thing.
fight
Yeah,
Batman.
that would make sense as a VR game. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Man, VR horror games. That would be. I'm getting into horror. That's a step too far for me. I think that would.
You get motion sick. I'll never forget playing Resident Evil 7 in
Oh.
VR. Man,
Sounds
I want
terrible.
to throw up.
I would not
Yeah.
do that. Okay, let's take a quick break, and then we will cover more Summer Game Fest. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Next up was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, which pretty much just looks like the TMNT Shredder's Revenge, but for Power Rangers. It's got like a very similar art style. It's not the same team, but even like the name, like Shredder's Revenge, Rita's Rewind, like it feels very intentional in that way. So I think it looks great. The pixel art looks great. TMNT, not an IP I care for, but I loved that game because it was like just fun mechanics. The pixel art was so good. The music was great. And so for that same reason, like I could be into this and I could want to check it out, even though I don't really care or know much about Power Rangers as an IP. But I know, Travis, you're into it, and I forget Taylor's into Power Rangers. But yeah, what do you guys think of this one?
Is there a date on this game yet? I can't remember if it was a
I
date
didn't
for
write
this
it
year.
down, which makes me think that no, but I'll
I
double check.
Okay, because if it's out this year before the stream, I'll have it. So because we've already talked about internally, little.
2024 is all we got right now.
Okay, perfect. A little internal scoop. We've talked about doing like an arcade block of like a couple hours, like we talked about X-Men. And this for me, I played the hell out of the Sega Power Rangers, which looks a lot like this. A lot of those old TMT games. And this for me was very exciting because I just like it looks cool. You got the classic arcade fighting and just like stuff you're on the roller coaster, the motorcycles, like a few different variations. But yeah, I'm very excited because the girls, they end up, I can't remember. Oh, I watched Power Rangers once. They're into it, and we watched Power Rangers here and there, but we already finished Mighty Morphin, and that was like their favorite series. And then after that, you get new Rangers, and much like me, it's like, these aren't as good as the other people, but that's why this is Mighty Morphin. So we had played a little bit of, I can't remember which one, but there was a Games Pass of, I don't know if it was Shredder's Revenge, but one of the Turtle games of the recent little bit that they put back on there. That was like
I
the
think that was
arcade
Shredder's
fighting.
Revenge.
Okay, we played that. That was lots of fun. We stopped because I need to get another remote because some parts I weren't good enough for, so I have to get Emily on the team to help us out. So I got to buy another Xbox remote. But I'm very excited to play this with the kids, and it just looked really cool. So this was like a really just like a hit on the nostalgia, but also looked like a little spice of something new. So yeah, if this is out before the stream, we'll definitely be plugging in some hours because I will own this one because it's when I showed the girls, they were really excited about this too because they like the Turtles game. So yeah, all around might be my game of the show. Actually, is the Power
Nice.
Rangers one, just because all around I was very hyped and excited about it. So can't wait.
I love to see Travis getting hyped for a pixel art like
Yeah.
indie old school sort of game.
Lots have
I'm
changed since we started. First person shooters, indie. My most anticipated game is Replaced,
Yeah.
and and it's nowhere. Like I just want this indie game that's Blade Runner like, and like yeah, we're still working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Taylor, any interest in this one yourself?
My love for Power Rangers, it is how do I say this? My love is the fact that Ruben appreciates and loves Power Rangers to death, and I love and support that.
There.
Yeah, so that is where my kind of thing goes. My real only connection with Power Rangers is a couple things I saw when I was a kid, and then the movie review we did back a couple years ago. So I've not really played any games aside from I think Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Racers or something like that. That is it. But this looks good. I've played Shredder's Revenge. I really enjoyed it. And this looks fun. Yeah, so let's try it out. If it's on Games Pass, I'll do it.
Did we see how many like players there is in this one at a time?
There were 5
No.
people on
Shredder's
screen.
Revenge was weirdly 6 players at a time, right?
Then I imagine it must be. It should be the whole 5, right? I don't think I've seen it
5?
confirmed anywhere, but I would imagine.
That's
yeah,
how
because
little I know about Power Rangers. I don't know how many people are like.
starts
on the
with
team.
yeah. This is the original crew. It starts with 5, and the green White Ranger does come in, but it didn't look like Tommy was a part of this, so it looks like it's just the OG
You gotta have
crew.
an unlockable character. Though, so
That's
maybe,
true. Yeah, and he's everyone's favorite. Sorry, Clay, but it's true. So he hates the green White Ranger, but yeah, 5 for sure at least. So
Cool. Next up was a game called Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the sequel. This is a series I didn't know anything about it before this. This is coming out later this year, and I was very surprised. I guess just with what they showed here, because this is a very intense, adult-themed game. A lot of like combat, like chivalry type first-person combat. But at one point in this trailer, someone's just getting banged on a table. There's no nudity, but it's still like, wow, this is pretty graphic for like a summer game fest, especially like just following a Power Rangers sequence. So I was kind of surprised by by this trailer here, and I don't know, it looked like GTA in a fantasy setting or something. It was just like chaos and like people fighting on horses and attacking each other, a lot of story and stuff. So I don't know what to think about this game, but I'm intrigued because it's something a little different than what I'm used to. Any thoughts on this one from you guys?
I need to look more in it because Mike was super hyped about this in our Discord. My favorite thing about this though was when he said the word kingdom, and then when he said "come," the whole crowd again groaned because they thought they're getting some Kingdom Hearts stuff. So that was a really good moment. But yeah, I think because I didn't think this looked bad, but it didn't. Again, it's kind of like I can't remember what game we were talking about earlier, but it didn't look like anything that would bump the backlog down more and be like, oh, I should add this in here. So again, maybe if you and Mike and other people played and tell me really good things and see, because sometimes all I need to see is a scene like Yakuza or like a Dragon. I had no interest, and then I saw a couple scenes like, you know what, that's now higher on the backlog because that looks cool. So all it takes is some good word of mouth and everything. But yeah, didn't grab me.
Fair enough.
I think I would be down to try this. It looks kind of like it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So, yeah, I don't know what else I can say. I think you call it like it kind of has the GTA vibe to it, and I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting
somehow.
this woman getting just pile drivered on the table. So.
Yeah, not one on my bingo card for Summer Game Fest, but now it's all open next year. Next up was Slitterhead, which is a game we've heard about before. This is I think from like original people who created like Silent Hill. This is kind of they've split off from what is it, Konami now, and now they're doing this thing. This was a wild looking game.
Yeah.
Not what I was expecting for their horror game because it seems a lot more like action heavy than I was expecting. But yeah, it seems like the core concept here is that you, I guess, are almost playing as like this little virus or this little worm, and you're going from like host to host, just picking any random person on the street that you want, and then you're controlling them. You're running around. You're doing combat. And like at one point you're like fighting this giant monster and your arm gets cut off and there's like a thread keeping it together and you just like suck the arm back on and then start fighting again. There's crazy weapons and enemy types in here. I don't even know what I watched, and I've watched it like a couple times now. This is a crazy trailer, crazy looking game. But you know what? I'm intrigued. This is something different, weird, cool, bold. So yeah, I don't know. I like this showcase a lot. I thought this was a really fun looking game.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like how when we talk about film in like A24, where even if a concept looks weird and you might not like it, you just appreciate that they're doing it, and that's why you would check it out. Obviously, with a game, it can be a lot more time and money, so I need word of mouth. But it definitely stood out. I don't know if it stood out as like I want to play it because the weirdness. I don't know if the gameplay wanted to make me play it because like when you talked about like I was just rewatching when he has multiple guns and stuff like that didn't look appealing to me. Like just shooting these big monsters, like the actual fighting, but the idea of just everything around it, like you mentioned, the arm, just a certain weapon types. Yeah, I don't know. Again, a lot of these games, I might be repeating myself, but this is another like I need to wait and see what people think. I don't think I would buy this blindly because I also think is it a game where okay, it's really cool you're this virus, but then do you get over that really quick? I don't know. It's but I'll give them this that it's something different. It's something new and intriguing. So good on them for going out there and doing something bold. And it has a chance if it's good, I think, to stand out because there's no game like this out there. So
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. This just it throws me off guard. I mean, going into the dog, going person to person, like it's pretty crazy.
Sure is. Have you ever seen anything like Killer Bean, Taylor Field?
No, this is the one that you were hyped about, Travis.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't give this my game of the show because like we've seen it before, so I like to give it to something new. But yeah, Taylor, why are you not hyped for Killer Bean?
I'm hyped. I'm hyped that you're hyped.
It's not the same. You're Ruben Power Rangersing me.
No, I'm down. It just looks like it's just mayhem, and I don't know, just the theme of it feeling kind of like kiddie, but at the same time it's not. Like I don't know if you're pile driving anyone on a table like you are in a medieval game, but
Another bean. Yeah.
You're a bean. You're a secret agent bean.
No, it seems like a good time, so I'm definitely down to try this. But I'm probably not as excited and over the moon as you are though.
I can't wait for this game. This is right now I think it's still just PC, so I'm gonna have to hold my breath. It's gonna be like when I have 8 kids, it'll be like Killer Bean's finally coming to PS7. Like, oh cool. But no, I when I first saw this game I was obsessed with it. I still need to watch just like a short film that they made. It's like 40 minutes. I think it was based off some meme or YouTube videos back in the day that I had no knowledge of. But I just love how like weirdly big it feels and how much variety there is. It's not just you going around shooting beans. I love the classic first person and third person when you want it. You can drive a car, you can catch a grenade in the air and then dunk it like LeBron James. Like there's so like I don't know, like it just looks so versatile. Like there's like times where they show there's like a water level where you're like trying to get up this secret like whatever very James Bond-esque like villain base. Like I don't know. I think this game for sure could disappoint me and be lackluster, but there's just something about it that I cannot wait to get my hands on Killer Bean. Like it looks very creative and again like the last game, different but imaginative. So yeah, I still think it looks good. It looks fun. Like it looks like that's why I thought you'd be more over because I feel like it reminds me a little bit of Just Cause. And Just Cause to me is never a game that I'd say is the greatest of all time, but anytime I put that game in, it's just like I just have fun the entire time I'm playing it and I'm happy. You know?
Yeah, I think it's definitely that it has that vibe. I think Just Cause is a good comparison. I feel like I'm gonna play it and I'll enjoy it for an hour, 2 hours, and then I think it's the gimmick is gonna wear off real quick for me. Whereas I mean maybe that's time I could have been on another game. I feel like I've played games that are kind of they have this aesthetic, they have this vibe, and it's fun while it lasts, but. Maybe it's just something that you play for a few hours and you go back after like a couple months or something. Maybe that's just me though.
Well, what I was surprised about with the showcase of it is that this is a roguelike. So I thought it was like an open world game where you're just going around and GTAing it up and just like screwing around, maybe doing the odd quest or something. But it's like I'm curious what the structure is going to be. Where it's like, what is your objective? Like, how do you get to the next level, or is it something kind of different for a roguelike? But I don't know. That seems really interesting to me, and I think the best way to have a successful roguelike is to have a super fun gameplay that is just endlessly fun and has a ton of variety and crazy stuff going on. And this game definitely has that. So yeah, I'm with you on this. Like, I think this looks like a ton of fun. I would definitely love to check it out. And yeah, I'm really curious how it's going to be like a roguelike, because I didn't really get that vibe at all from the trailer. But yeah, really, really fun. I think I forgot that this game existed, so it was a new announcement for me as far as I'm concerned, and it just looked like a lot of fun. So I'm into it. Next up was a very Dylan-centric game. This is a game called Cairn, and this is a climbing game. It looks a lot like Jusant, which came out last year. But if you go back to I'll say our review. Me and Taylor were talking about this game. I was more talking at Taylor about this game because I had played it through Game Pass. And I liked Jusant. I didn't love it, and I think one of my beefs with it was that there was no element of using your feet. There wasn't really foot control in it. And for me, as like, okay, a climbing simulator type game, like I want all sorts of control in that way, because footwork and foot placement is such a big part of climbing now that I'm obsessed with that as a hobby. And this seems like this game has that addition to it, and it seems kind of janky, but not super duper janky. I think that's one of the concerns of probably why they didn't do it in Jusant, is because it just would be too QWOP-like in terms of weird physics thing instead of actually a climbing game. So I like that hook on it. I thought the characterization, like the story element of it, seemed really interesting, where once again, Jusant seems like your character just climbing, maybe to like uncover a mystery, more like just because of the love of climbing and wanting to climb this thing. Whereas in this game, the character's like raging when they fall, or like they'll climb to the top of a mountain and then they see like 3 or 4 other huge mountains, and they're like, do they just start raging and flipping out because of what they're seeing here? So that was kind of a surprising angle. The other thing I really liked about it was, it seems like if you're in like a really difficult situation, a hard little kind of problem area to climb, and you fall off, maybe you die or just like lose some progress, it kind of shows like a little spider web of like all the different ways that you have moved and tried before, and so you can maybe try something different. So I thought that looked really cool. So this to me, it seems like a sequel to Jusant in a sense, and it's kind of like the things I would want from it in a way. Maybe less of a focus on story and more just like about this character and this journey. So this is probably a day one for me. I think this looks really cool and interesting and different, and I like that climbing games are like now becoming a thing, because climbing is a big part of so many games, but very rarely is it actually a focus, and usually it's a very mindless activity. So to make it like the core concept of the game, I think is really cool, and obviously speaks to me in a very personal way. So that was a cool game for me. Next up was a game called Wonder Stop, which is coming out later this year. This is from some of the developers of Stanley Parable, or maybe just that team's next game. And this was a really interesting showcase for this game, because it starts out and it seems like, okay, this is like a little town sim. You're like running this tea shop, and you have all sorts of crazy like Willy Wonka-esque contraptions where you're making all these you have all these crazy contraptions to make like one little cup of tea. It looks very cute and whimsical and colorful, and I'm really into that. But then as the trailer's going on, your character, they have like a long day of work, and they go to sit on a bench to just relax, and they're like, okay, I can stop. I gotta remember, like, I can stop running now. I can stop running now. And they just keep saying that over and over again. They get like more worked up and anxious and like freaking out about whatever they ran away from to come to this town. And that is like the perfect hook on the end of like a trailer for me, because yeah, it seems like this fun, wholesome, simple thing where you turn off your brain and just build this town out. But instead there's like some weird angle going on with the story, and just knowing the developers and how meta they can get and how funny and interesting they can be. I think it's really cool to see like this angle for this. So, and it's also a huge pivot from what they did previously. So this was also like, man, I'm probably day one on this. Like, I'm completely sold. I thought this was an excellent trailer. Doesn't stand out to me as a Travis or Taylor game, but I'm curious what you guys thought of it.
No, it's not on the. I like, you probably sold me a bit more than the game did, because just based off some other stuff. So I like the art style. I like it's very like visually. I don't know what I would compare it to, but I like looking at it. It looks like something I'd want on my ambience noise music videos when they always pick a thumbnail. Like, yeah, it looks good. So yeah, probably not high on the list, but I liked the look of it.
Right on. There's this game called The First Descendant, which we've seen recently. It's coming out July 2nd. This is a free-to-play third-person PvE co-op action RPG looter shooter. It's just like all the fucking keywords are thrown in there. Yeah, no. I would jump in and play this game over the course of a weekend with you guys. Check it out. Do you have any interest in doing that? Because if not, I will probably not play this game. So I'm curious what you thought of it.
Taylor?
I mean, it looks fun. If you're going in, then I could see
weekend?
myself maybe trying.
Put Call of Duty on
Um,
hold for one weekend to check out this game.
maybe.
Like they cheated for me because they used M83 outro, and that's one of my favorite songs of all time. It's just like a goosebumps inducing thing. But I just like I had no interest in this. There's
I don't
just
blame
something
you.
about
I feel
it.
like it doesn't really have
Yeah.
a soul. It just very much
Yes.
feels like a husk to sell copies, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen many games that look like this, like Destiny or Anthem. Just so many different things that kind of give off the same vibes that this
July.
has.
It's
So-
free to
but
play. That's where I'm like, I'll jump in and
free,
check it out.
yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Kirkland said he would, so hold him to it.
Did he? Or are you
Yeah.
making that up?
July long weekend he'll be there.
Okay,
No, I
that's
don't think so.
Inner Sloth, who are the developer of Among Us, announced Outer Sloth, which is their publishing arm, where they're going to start supporting indie games since they made a fuck ton of money with Among Us.
Yeah.
So nothing really to say there. Some of these games have already games that are out. They're just kind of helping support those developers on their next titles. That's amazing. You love to see it. Shout outs to Inner Sloth. That's very cool for them.
Yeah, no, that is cool. And like again, I'll give him a bit of credit that this go around because he didn't do it the past year, but Keeley did shout out some of the layoffs and everything like that, and that was good.
Oh, what did he? How was that? Because I actually didn't hear that part.
It was like 50-50 because he said it's a really hard time for game development and like kind of not thoughts and prayers, but kind of like, we're all with the people that lost jobs. But then he's also like, but then in the top 10 best-selling Steam games, 3 of them are independent. Like it was kind of a little weird. It was kind of like, hey, there's gaming's better than ever, but it's like, well, not exactly, but it was still appreciated shout. I think he sometimes comes off a little robotic at times, but he still did it, where I think at times he's thought, I'm not gonna do this because I don't know if it's
He
the
tries
right
to
way.
keep it fun. And-
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So, and I will shout from that little thing because I'm rewatching again. I really like the look of that Rogue Eclipse game. I don't know why. It reminds me of a game that I played
yeah.
before.
Rogue Eclipse, is it?
Yeah, it's just like a space shooter, and I just like the style of it a lot. So that might be something I might keep my eye out on actually, because I imagine it's not like
Right.
a lot
kind of
or
like
anything,
Star
so-
Fox esque game.
yes, that's probably where it's coming from. I
was.
was a big Star Fox kid, so yeah, I like.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of colors popping off, and I'm enjoying
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah, the one in there was, I think it's Mars First Logistics, I think is what it's called, where you're like building rovers. That has really cool art style. It's been on my wish list for a long time, so it's cool that they're supporting that developer on whatever they are making
Yeah.
next. Sonic X Shadow Generations is a new Sonic game.
yeah,
I'm not a Sonic guy. You guys have any thoughts on this?
the crowd was excited, so they're doing the right thing. Sega, they popped, and I think they're smart. We told this before. It sounds like, I think the good thing too for this, it sounds like they're over delivering on what people thought this game was going to be, because it is kind of like a remake remaster. But I think the
Okay.
stuff they're adding with Shadow is more than people expected, and it's smart because even Keeley in this said like, yeah, the movie's coming out, and that's all about Shadow. So I think
Right.
Sega's being pretty smart to have a Shadow game out, and it's weird with the whole thing with Sega and everything, where I did not think in 2024 that Sonic would still be not even this popular, but I feel like he's the most popular he's been since the 90s because the movies and everything. But like kids still love Sonic, so
Right.
they're doing something right, keeping that character alive. So I'm happy for the fans. It looks like they're happy. So
Nice. I shall move along.
Yeah,
Dune
go for it.
no
Awakening.
Sonic Taylor.
I don't got
Dune
much.
Awakening. So we've seen this game a lot recently. This didn't really have any gameplay to it, but we got a story hook to it, which is quite compelling. So
Yeah.
in the world of Dune, Paul Atreides, he can see the future to some extent. It's kind of like murky. He doesn't have perfect visions necessarily, but he can get like vision. You can see the rough outline of what's going to happen. So I guess the hook of this game, which I didn't realize until now, and maybe because they haven't talked about it before, was that he sees that no matter what happens with Paul Atreides being alive, he just leads to destruction and the downfall of everything. So the best way for the world to, I guess, thrive is for him to have never been born. So this is like an alternate timeline in which he was not born, in which his father lived, in which the Atreides, I guess House Atreides, survived the attack on Arrakis, and then all the other things that furled out from there. So I guess I'm not like so knowledgeable on Dune yet, that I am ready to get a weird pivot like this. Like I want to learn more about like the main timeline and things that occur. So this is not really a compelling timeline, or I guess story setup in general for me. I think there's some potential to it, but I think for where I'm at in my Dune fandom, which is like I'm still a baby, not necessarily doing it for me. But what did you guys think of this?
I mean, I think the concept is very interesting, and that storyline is definitely enticing. But I don't know if I'm running to dive into this and to play it necessarily. But I might probably do like.
Remember, this is like an MMO online game, so it's like, what is
Yeah.
the story? How relevant is that really
Yeah.
going to be? You know?
I don't mind online MMOs, but that's definitely something that I had when I had more time for it. I was definitely more attracted to that type of a game style. But nowadays, it's hard for me to kind of commit to something like that when you have so much to commit to and invest your time with. So it's tricky, even though the story is definitely there. That if you're doing an MMO, that storyline you have to think it's going to be expanded upon. It's not just going to be like a cut straight. You know, you're going to have to be leveling up. You're going to be grinding. You're going to be getting your skills going up, and you got to do so much to get and complete that whole storyline. So it's a totally different factor as
Or it's just
a
very
regular
loose.
game.
It's
Or it
like
is very
just-
loose.
Yeah.
But it's just very different from your regular, like, oh, here's a campaign that's going to be 20, 30 hours to get through. Because you don't have to grind necessarily and do things in that where you play the story, you level up, you rank as you go. I don't think that's going to be this. It's an MMO, so you're going to have to do, raids, stuff like that, get your gear, do cooperative-based things. Like, there's a whole variety of different things to factor in with that, even though the story is enticing.
Yeah, I hate that because I hate everything that Taylor pitches is just not what I want to get into right now. We've been down this road before, so I'm not going to get into it. I'm the exact opposite, where this made me even more bummed that it's an MMO. I love this story choice because what I think is if you were to do a video game, it's like, and you're doing Dune, the people that are, hey, we've got negative reviews for it before, like, are going to expect, hey, you got to be very specific to the Dune story and everything. I think right away them doing a what if scenario is we want to play in the Dune sandbox, pun intended, but get to do whatever. Not, oh, well, we got to follow this, and oh, we can't have this power, or we can't have this character here, we can't make this choice. This is literally, we just want to take the Doom world and do multiple tales, what ifs, and you can free to do whatever. And I think now in my world, it's like, oh, I'm thinking that could be a great RPG and whatnot, and use those elements. But no, they're doing that because it's an MMO, and I mean, that's where the story is loose. It's like you can do whatever because you're just going to be doing, like, say, said raids and upgrading gear. And it's like, that's why, because there's not going to be a clear story focus that you have to get to A to B. It's going to be very loose. So I love that idea, and I love the look of the game. I love the vibe. This is very much like the Goblin's Mask on the chair, where it's talking to me to like try it, but it's just like I don't want to. It's the same reason as why I've told Dylan Kirkland, like I think I'd love Marvel Snap, but I do not want to get into the rotation of it because I just know myself. I remember Midnight Suns brought that back for me a little bit. When I get in that GM mode WWE, there's times where I'll just play like half an hour. I've sunk in 3 hours. Like, where'd the time go? So this is gonna be a paid game, right? I imagine, or is it gonna be free?
Dude, I don't even
Monthly
know what the MMO
subscription,
landscape is looking like these days.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So I don't know. I'm not saying I'm fully out because I'm all in the Dune bandwagon right now. I love the idea. I'm very just torn on it. So my hope. No, that sounds bad. I was gonna say my hope is that it's a bad game, so then that love goes away. But I don't hope that because I want games to develop. I hope it's a game that does well, but when everyone describes it to me, I go, "Oh, that sounds not anything that I want to do." But there's a chance that I put my toes in those water. I don't want to, but I'm digging what they're putting down. So we'll see.
Right on. I don't know if it can. When did you look up if there's a release date for this game? When is it?
See,
I feel like it maybe had a beta or something
Christopher
like that.
Evans, Marvel Snap is like crack. That's why I've not touched it. That's why I can't go down that
deny
alley.
that.
Yeah.
Considering I've played it almost every day.
Yeah, I can't get that. I can't go down that alley. There's a
Doesn't
WWE
have
game.
projected release window yet.
Not even the
does not?
year?
Doesn't say so, at least on Google.
Huh.
There's no Dune Awakening release window yet.
And it didn't even say, I guess, in the trailer, did it, right? Oh, hang
There's
on.
a lot of trailers for it for a game that's
Dune
not
Awakening.
even on a
Hang
window
on.
yet is kind of.
I'm looking at the end cap here. It says a Dune open world survival MMO wish list now. Yeah, nope,
Yeah.
not there. So
And because I think this is the third time we've seen it, and then there was like
Think
some
so.
bigger deep dive recently too. So kind of surprising. But I don't know. I think a lot of studios are doing that these days where
Yes.
until you have that day set in fucking stone, then don't bother sharing it because you don't want to have to delay your game because that obviously makes people angry.
Yes, of course.
Next up was Alan Wake 2 Night Springs. This was not out today. It was an out tomorrow release. This is already released, at least the first part for it. So this is a really interesting idea. So the Alan Wake 2 DLC here is there is a TV show within the world of Alan Wake, and this is like you are playing through episodes of that TV show, and so it's allowing them to do these crazy what-if scenarios and get even crazier and wilder with it is what Sam Lake was talking about when he was on stage there. So 3 episodes are out now. I think there's 3 more coming later on down the road. And in these ones, one of them you're going to get to play as kind of the waitress from the main restaurant there in one of the towns. You'll get to play as Sean Ashmore's character, who is I think it's not quite his character from Quantum Break. I can't remember how it all works. I don't know the Remedy lore.
There's
but
like double of them or something like that.
Yeah, he's like a relevant character in Alan Wake 2. He's in there quite a bit. And then Jesse from Control, the protagonist of Control, is another one here. So obviously that takes place in the same universe. There hasn't been tons of crossover yet. There's been a little bit. I think like the Control DLC was Alan Wake crossover, I think more specifically. And so it's interesting now the DLC for Alan Wake is kind of connecting that more specifically to Control, even if there was a lot of references in the main game. So I really like what Remedy's doing with their Remedy-verse. It's confusing, and I haven't played all these games, and I don't pretend to understand half of it. But Alan Wake 2 was such a weird and interesting, unique game that, I already bought this. It was $20 for these 3 episodes, which are apparently an hour each. So,
nice.
3 hours, $20. You can wager that out if it's worth it for you. But I think for how weird Alan Wake 2 is, like, I'm definitely down for these kind of 1-hour episodes each. It's a more digestible way to play it, too. I'm excited to check this out. I haven't had a chance to jump in yet, but I'll probably play at least 1 or 2 or maybe all of the episodes before next week's episode, so I'll share my thoughts.
Nice.
More on that next week probably. So yeah, very cool stuff.
Yeah, no, this is just a reminder. I think I'm gonna make my goal because I got some stuff happening in November, December. So I want this to be played before then. They also announced that they're doing a physical game release.
Right.
Not that I am Mr. Physical, but it's the full price game, but you're getting all these DLCs. You're getting 2, and then you're getting 1 remastered. So I think I'm gonna be putting that on the birthday list. It's just like for Emily, say, hey, just get me this in October. I don't get much physical, but unless there's like a digital version, because even right now the game is still like full price, which is great. So it's not like I
don't know if it's gone on sale because I obviously got it like day one.
Yeah, if it has, I think it's probably just been like a $5 or $10 one, because right now it's still $79.99 for us. So if it's still around that, and if there's like a digital equivalent to that, then sure. But either way, whether it's digital or physical, I think I might wait for then and buy it and then do all the Alan Wake stuff, because I've never played Alan Wake 1, and Dylan and everybody around me just always say, oh, this is a game you'd really like. So I'm sick and tired of hearing that. I got to get on it, and then I want to do Control next. So there's a lot of stuff in there, but I think this is a great showing, and I think they're doing really cool stuff. Like all that universe stuff is like, I respect it. That's stuff we want to do with our films. Have like little, like, Kevin Smith, Tarantino, where there's always little connections, but there's not ever going to be Avengers movie or anything like that. But they're just a cool studio, so I want to support them.
Alan Wake is like a writer writing the story that you're playing. Like you're gonna love it so much.
Yeah, so I plan to, by the end of 2024, talk about the Alan Wake series on side quests at some point. So
I will hold you to it.
Yeah.
Did this do anything for you, Taylor, or should we move along?
You can go along. I've never played Alan Wake, so I don't have. I mean, looks good.
Yeah, there was another call to action for Skate. So Skate is finally had in their showcase here, but it's just more of the same. They still are saying they're in pre-alpha. They're still working on it, and they just want people to come play test their game for them. So I don't like it. Like, I don't know. I guess they've probably run out of play testers at this point, so they're trying to get people out there again. But it's like, I can't imagine this is a good way to spend their money to just like pay hundreds of thousands of dollars just to remind people that they can check it out here. So I was not into it. And what's your guys' opinion on Tim Robinson as a comedian?
I've not watched anything, because I think I know, unfortunately, he's not here. I think Kirkland's a big fan of him. I think maybe I'm wrong.
Good thing, because I'm not a fan of this guy. His shtick, his humor does not do it for me. So the fact that he kind of introduced this sequence too, I was like, man, as someone who was so excited for Skate when it first got announced, like, they've really botched the rollout. Of
That's
this
what I was gonna
game.
say. That's what I was gonna say. So the guy I've not watched enough to know maybe in his shows that it would actually like give the humor off. So who knows? But it sucked because he was around for this back half a few times. Yeah, that's just the biggest thing to me. That Skate should not have been here. I think Skate is doing their best to kill all the hype for this game, and that was just from what I saw on my timeline. Other people have just it's become announced of it was coming back and everyone's so excited. I remember that everyone was really hyped to now. I just feel like it's not as bad, but we joke about today in Ubisoft like it's like that Beyond Good and Evil. It's not this game's definitely coming out and probably in the next few years, but I just feel like it's just diminishing returns, and I just have the sneaking suspicion this game's gonna come out and be like a 6 out of 10, and it's gonna be like, remember when they tried to do Skate again, and that was it, and maybe you should just remastered some old games and did that. And yeah, I think they shouldn't even been there. It just felt like kind of amateur hour stuff, and this was when I was really feeling of like, man, like. Yeah, they don't have much this year at Summer's Games Fest. Like, this didn't need to be 2 hours, because if it's just like you're just showing a play test, it's like, this is what you're coming up with your big summer show. It just didn't feel good all around. So,
Yeah, I mean, it felt very long. All of, like the humorous shtick, like the destroying the files, people walking out crying, all this like crazy stuff. But I feel like the
It was like Killer Bean kind of, but less engaging.
Less engaging. The pre alpha stuff, like, so I mean, it looked enticing, but again, it's not actual gameplay, it's not anything concrete, but like you're building certain things, it looks like designing certain arenas, I'd say. But again, I can't say much because it's pre alpha, but that
Well, I
seemed
mean,
kind
that's
of cool.
always been a thing in Skate, though. Like, not that we need.
Was it always a
new.
thing?
Yeah, you could always like build parks and put things around and stuff and move
Oh,
move
good.
items.
Damn, it's been a good minute. I mean, last time we played it was a charity stream, right?
I think there was a 4
Yeah, I
a.m.
guess-
slot last year where I woke up to Skate and I was like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
I guess we
I
did
think,
because we didn't have Tony Hawk. Because
Yeah, that's right.
Me out there. Oh my god, I was
but
so excited.
it looked like there's some parkour stuff going on. The guy doing like the full not cartwheel, somersault. Am I getting that right? Yeah,
Front
somersault.
flip,
He was
back flip?
somersaulting
Okay.
down the alleyway while everyone else was skateboarding. That was kind of rowdy. So
Yeah.
you don't even need a board anymore.
I mean, Skate 3, like the same thing. You can kind of do all that. So, like, once again, yeah, I don't need like new stuff with Skate. I just like need the game to come out. Enough of this like jerking me around with these random like alpha things. Like, I don't care. I'm not into it. The last thing on my list here, and this is probably just more of a shout out, is Phantom Blade Zero. This is a Souls-like, but like really fast combat. Some of the characters look really cool. One of the kind of main mechanics is it looks like the Phantom part of it, that you can kind of go into a Phantom, like become intangible, become like a little ghost and dodge attacks that way. It looked really cool. I mean, I'm very hard sell when it comes to Souls-like, so I don't know if I'll be playing it, but I thought it looked cool. Was there anything I skipped that you guys wanted to shout out?
No, I was going over all this, and I think with Phantom Blade there, you asked me last week, like, what's the next Soul game I'm going to get into? It's not that one. Not that one. No. But no, I think we covered all the main stuff that I had as well, too.
Okay, sounds good. Any closing thoughts, or we kind of covered it all, I think.
No, I'm happy with my 2. I gave it at the beginning
Yeah.
there. I think I'm still in that ballpark, so yeah.
I got nothing.
Bring
Yeah,
it,
okay.
Game Awards, Jeff. You gotta have a good show, and not don't even do like slow gaming year. It's like there's things pacing, you don't pick and choose what's there. It's not just like slow gaming year. No. Like there's still ways to do it. So let's figure it out. I want Game Awards to be very fun and good to talk about. So
Yeah, I mean, I think you should be primed for it with potentially some big Nintendo stuff leading into that new console coming out. Like, if he can land a GTA 6 trailer, that would be sick. So, I don't know. There's definitely some good, juicy potential.
another
so
Death
we-
Stranding for sure, probably, I imagine.
Sure.
Like going
yeah.
into next
Kojima
year.
time. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
make a lot of sense.
Kojima time.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Once again, we'll see you very shortly for the Xbox showcase breakdown. And yeah, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.